Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, How to Support Google Services on iPads. Google Services power collaboration and productivity for students and teachers as well as businesses across the world. Schools that are already invested or are exploring Google education tools sometimes believe that Chromebook is the only option. In fact, blending the best of Google Services on Apple hardware is a game-changing combination for education, and here at Jamf we help organisations succeed with Apple. Today I'm going to show you how Google and Apple work great together, but also deep dive into some tricks and tips to showcase just some of the benefits to empower IT admins, teachers and students as well as parents. So let's get started and explore how Jamf can make it simple to co-manage these two ecosystems. My name is Aaron Webb and I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Education here at Jamf. I'm super excited to be sharing my experience with you today, and any questions you have, please feel free to reach out. In today's session, we'll be covering the following topics. We'll start off with Google Classroom, which is a powerful platform for delivering lessons and content. Google Classroom is a great tool not only for delivering lessons, but providing feedback and marks to students. I've helped schools start out from nothing when the global pandemic started, through to the other end of the spectrum, where my previous school were delivering the entire curriculum through Google Classroom and iPad. Next, we will look at the other Google tools on offer and the fact that Google have their own suite of apps on the Apple App Store, but most importantly, how the Google apps work with the features built into iPadOS. I'll then dive into how the Apple apps combined with Google apps offer not only a host of skills to develop students and teachers, but also offer choice in their learning. Finally, we will round up the session with the role of IT putting both teachers and parents' minds at ease with simple management features to ensure that they are empowered to support the students' learning. So let's get started. Let's start with Google Classroom. Google Classroom is a free web-based service developed by Google for schools that aims to simplify creating, distributing and grading assignments. The primary purpose of Google Classroom is to streamline the process of sharing files between teachers and students. It was initially released in 2014 and the operating system supports Android, web and iOS. This is great for those schools using iPad as it gives two options. You can use the web interface through Safari, or you can use the Google apps that are free to download on the Apple App Store. So let's take a look at Google Classroom in action on the iPad. So as you can see here, I've organised all my Google apps into a folder on my iPad. These are just some of the apps available on the Apple App Store and they are all free. I'm going to open Google Classroom. One of the biggest strengths of Google Classroom is the ability to create classes, share documents and put everything for students in one place. When I launch the app, you can see it already has my classes available to me and I can tap into a class and see the posts that I've already created and sent out to students. Right in the app on the iPad, I can create a new assignment by tapping the plus icon in the bottom right. I can give my assignment a title and a description, and I can set a due date as well as a score if I want it to be marked. From my experience and what worked well with the teachers I've worked with in the past is the ability to schedule a post. This is great as you can set a date and time for when you want that post or assignment to go live to the students. So you could be setting the lessons out for the next week, but you don't want your students to see them. Instead, you schedule so it only goes live on that specific date and time. This is how we tackle planning in my previous school. We would schedule the posts for the term and have them sitting in drafts. Teachers could work on them, make changes and add content, but their entire medium-term planning was able to be seen on Google Classroom and also accessed by senior leaders without the students having access to them. So that's a quick view of Google Classroom on iPad. That's the standalone iOS app with the same functionality as if you was using it on a Chromebook or a laptop. Google Classroom is just one app within the Google suite. There are so many more that schools are using in some capacity to complement Google Classroom. Let's have a look. Starting on the left, we have Gmail. Google have a dedicated Gmail app on the Apple App Store, but Google Mail can also be configured to be used with a Mail app from Apple or accessed through the web browser via Safari, which is Apple's native browser, or Google's Chrome app. The second in the core set here, used as a workflow, is Google Drive, to store, search and access files with colleagues or students. Google Drive fits in really well across the school, not only with teaching and learning, but from an admin office staff level as well. If we bring into the mix the next three apps, Docs, Sheets and Slides, these are Google's equivalent of Microsoft Word, Excel and PowerPoint. These Microsoft apps are also available on the Apple App Store, and you may even use Word and Excel within your Google ecosystem for some users. These apps work online and save directly to the cloud. Many schools are opting to work this way to reduce the amount of servers on site and reduce the cost of technical expertise, but each school has its own preference to how they want to work. Finally, next to Google Classroom and sat on the end, we have Google Meet, a popular tool used for remote learning. So let's jump back to Google Classroom and how, when used with iPad, we can extend the value to both teachers and students in their teaching and learning. Throughout this session, I'll be sharing my tips with using Google on iPad, and that starts right out of the box when we leverage the power of the built-in features of iPadOS. Right out of the gate, my first tip, and hugely important to ensure learning is accessible to all, is accessibility. One of Apple's core values, which is designed into every Apple product. Accessibility features are built into iPadOS, enabling everyone to learn and create in ways that best work for them, because technology is most powerful when it empowers everyone. There are so many accessibility features built into the iPad, and this is the difference for some students in whether they or not can access learning. With accessibility, this makes learning possible for everyone. I have a dedicated webinar to Apple's accessibility features, so check that out on our website for a deeper dive. One of my favourite accessibility features is speak selection. This works within apps on the iPad, so we can see that a sentence from a post in Google Classroom has been highlighted and the motion to speak selection is tapped. The iPad will not only read out the words but highlight the word as it's spoken. This is great for students that cannot read or maybe don't have the language for the country they are living in as a first language. This features read back to them so that they can access the learning and know what is expected of them. Check out the accessibility section on apple.com for further information on all accessibility features available from Apple. My second tip is multitasking. Teachers are very busy with lots going on, and students are also looking to juggle activities, pulling content from one source, working on a project while watching a video. So how does iPad make that happen? With iPadOS, you can use multitasking to work with two apps at the same time. Let's see it in action. The dock lets you instantly open and switch apps from any app you're in. You can even customize the left side of the dock with your favorite apps. On the right hand side, you can see the apps that you've recently used. You can find the dock at the bottom of your home screen. To see the dock while using the app, slide one finger up from the bottom until the dock appears, then release. You can also customize the dock with your favorite apps, so you can make Google Classroom sit in the dock, ready to access quickly at any time. A great feature for both teachers and students is the ability to use two apps at the same time with split view. With split view, you can use two apps at the same time. Here you can see I have Google Classroom on the right hand side and the Safari browser on the left. I can easily browse the internet for teaching resources and links at the same time while viewing my lesson posts in Google Classroom. So now we've seen that Google Classroom is available for iPad. It works, and best of all, we can leverage iPadOS to enhance the experience. Let's go deeper and look at the wider apps available to use on iPad, but where the two ecosystems combine to offer a better together approach to learning. My third tip looks at blending both ecosystems. By choosing Apple as the device, it opens up the possibilities. It's not a closed system thanks to the App Store. There are thousands of apps to choose from and dedicated apps specifically for education. Of course, Google has its very own set of apps for iPad, and so does Apple. Both sets are free to download, so let's go and look at some of them now. If we overlay the Apple apps that we looked at earlier on the top of the Google stack, if we look at the Google apps that we looked at earlier and overlay the Apple equivalents, we've got the Apple Mail, We've got Apple Files. We've then got Pages. If we take the apps that we looked at earlier and overlay Apple's equivalents, starting from the left, we have Apple Mail. We've then got Files, which is the equivalent to Google Drive. We then have Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, which would be your equivalent in terms of Microsoft as Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And then to match Google Classroom, we have Apple Schoolwork. And finally, on the end, we have FaceTime. In addition, Apple has powerful creative apps such as iMovie, Clips, GarageBand, and also the awesome coding app Swift Playgrounds. What is great is that by using Google on iPad, you can offer a choice to teachers and students. Some may prefer Google Docs, while others may prefer to use Pages. There is the ability to pick and choose which work for you and to add the best of both ecosystems. Why not introduce your students to coding using Apple Swift Playgrounds, but set assignments and collect evidence through Google Classroom? You can mix and match and see that they work great together. Let's take a look at how Apple's Keynote app works with assignment created in Google Classroom. Here is an animation created in Keynote to explain the water cycle. From within Keynote, by simply tapping on the three dots on the top, the Share menu automatically picks up Google Classroom as an option. By tapping on Google Classroom, the class and assignment post can be selected and the Keynote file attached and handed into the teacher. A simple workflow which demonstrates how Google and Apple are better together. My tip number 4 is to build a core set of apps. So let's take a look. If we take the entire stack from Apple and Google and simplify them down to the apps that we want to use as part of our curriculum, we can decide on a core set of apps that make it easy to roll out your digital learning strategy. You can focus teacher training on the core apps, and in time, these will just be another tool which will become transparent, and it's all about the teaching and learning. As you can see, these are non-subject specific apps. There is no age grade. It's a simple set that can be used to teach any subject, any concept, and deliver a choice for learners. Moving on, we come to tip number 5, which is using the built-in screen recording on iPad. This can be used not only by students to evidence learning, but also by teachers to demonstrate a concept. It's super easy, but highly effective. Let's take a look. First, we need to ensure screen recording is an option in the command center. We can check by accessing the command center from the top right of the iPad. We can see that it's not on. So we head into the settings, go to the command center on the left pane, then find screen recording on the right hand side, tap the plus icon, and it will be added to the command center. If we navigate back and check again, the record button is now visible and we can quickly record our iPad screen. By tapping the iPad screen recording button, I can now record whatever is being demonstrated on my iPad. In this scenario, I'm showing students how to use the Sketches School app and trace over an image that I've got from my camera roll. I've got a great picture here of the Sydney Opera House, and I'm going to show students how to actually formulate where I want to place this on the page and turn down the opacity so I can use the pencil tools to trace over the image. I can demonstrate to the students how to use the app, how to select the tools, and go through a whole video process so they can look back at this at any particular time. I can then show them how to hide the image behind by tapping the I button on the top right hand side, and then once I've finished, I can actually stop my recording by pulling down from the command center, which will then automatically save the video to my camera roll, ready to then import into Google Classroom as part of an assignment. Tip number 6 is to use classroom management tools. With Apple, you can use Apple Classroom to help facilitate the learning. So let's take a look at it in action alongside Google Classroom. Apple Classroom is a powerful app for iPad and Mac that helps you guide learning, share work, but also manage student devices. The teacher can launch a specific app, website, or even a textbook page on any iPad in the class. Share student work on a TV, monitor, or projector using Apple TV, and you can even see which apps students are working in. You can mute student devices, assign a specific iPad for each student, and reset a student's password. And when the class ends, you see a summary of your student's activity. Best of all, it can work together with Google Classroom, combining both apps for teachers with multitasking split view. Let's take a look. Google Classroom works in partnership on iPad with Apple Classroom. Here you can see the teacher using Google Classroom to assign work, but Apple Classroom to monitor students' devices. Here we can see Michelle is using both Google Classroom and Google Docs on her iPad. We also have the additional management features like lock a student iPad and view screen of the entire class or individual students. Apple Classroom, however, only works within the classroom unless you are using managed Apple IDs. But there is an alternative, Jamf Teacher. We'll take a look later on in the presentation about how Jamf Teacher can help facilitate learning at home. Tip number 7 of this session is to create a PDF resource for Google Classroom using the Safari PDF Reader. This is a great way to create a PDF resource using Safari, Google Drive, and then Google Classroom. Let me show you how. So I found a great resource on the NASA website. If I tap the Reader view, I can then get rid of all of the information around that web page to create a really simple document. I can even change the background to make it easier for my students to read. As you can see, all the clutter has now gone. I'm just left with the article that I want my students to use in their learning. If I go over to the share icon and hit options, I can send as a reader PDF. If I then go navigate back, I can share directly to my Google Drive. If I save here into a folder, into Science Resources, and then hop into Google Classroom, I have the ability to access that file and upload it to a post. So my document's uploaded to Google Drive, I head over to Google Classroom, I select my Year 6 Science post, and I'm asking them to create a poster about the space station. I want to add this resource to help them, so I attach it, I go to Google Drive, I select from my drive the resource that I've just uploaded to my science folder, and I assign it to the students. I give it a due date, I save, and then if I navigate back, I can then submit that to my students so they've actually got a resource to help them. I don't need to send them to a website that's cluttered and going to distract them. I can actually take the material that I want them to focus on and directly upload it into the Google post. And this is what the students see. Rather than direct them to the web page that we had earlier, I've actually created this nice resource, very focused. All of that content is disappeared. That's a distraction. And they've got a nice resource to help them in their learning. With all of these apps at their fingertips, students have tools to take learning to the next level. This is so powerful, but with the global content and information at their every demand, students need guidance and to help remove distractions to focus on their learning. The role of the teacher is becoming more of a facilitator as students become more confident in their tools and express their learning through their own choice of apps and medium. But how do we empower IT, teachers and parents to guide students in the right direction? Let's start with making the experience for end users as seamless as possible while making it easy for IT admins to manage in a simple way. And that starts with identity. Let's take a look. As more schools, multi-academy trusts, colleges, universities and school districts migrate from legacy on-premises directories, Google Cloud Identity customers have access to Google Secure LDAP. When configured with Jamf to manage your Apple devices, this service allows for authentication during device enrollment, syncing of user information with each managed device, and the ability to leverage this information for scoping. Scan this QR code to access our administrator's guide to integrating cloud identity providers with Jamf Pro and Jamf School. Jamf Connect and Google Cloud Identity gives admins the peace of mind that their hardware and user information are secure, while providing a simplified experience for users on the first day of school. We've been speaking about iPad, but there may be a fleet of Macs in your school, or maybe staff using a Mac. If so, Jamf Connect powers Mac account provisioning and authentication with Google Cloud, which allows IT admins to easily set up and manage local Mac accounts and require users to authenticate with their G Suite credentials. To see how Jamf Connect secures and empowers users, just scan the QR code here to learn more. Moving on, and this is a great tip that I used heavily in school as the IT admin, and that's the ability to use web clips to create iPad shortcuts. Now, I used them for Google Sites when we had a staff portal, but also to help the maths lead who created Google Forms for speed challenges for her students. This is a quick way to navigate to Google resources at the tap of a finger of the user's home screen. Let's have a look. Here on the home screen, you can see a staff portal. This can be placed on every staff member's iPad to make it easy to access the staff portal. This is done by simply taking a URL of the Google site and scoping it to the device or users of choice in Jamf School or Jamf Pro. But it doesn't just stop at Google Sites. Alternatively, here is a Google form created by one of our customers, an Apple Distinguished School in the UK, who use Google on Apple in a very innovative and simple way to enhance the teaching and learning experience. In the same way we can scope to Google Sites, we can scope to a Google form using the URL. This is a quiz which the students can practice daily at the start of their school day and easily access on the home screen of their iPad. They come in the morning, the URL is there, put on their devices from a web clip from the IT admin, so they can easily tap and get on with the start of their maths practice as soon as they come into school. Now, all these tips are great, but at times we also need to help focus students. At Jamf, we go beyond the management of an Apple device. We extend the education experience with value-added workflow apps designed specifically for teachers and parents. Let's take a look at the Jamf Teacher app first. Using Jamf, a school's IT administrator can enable a set of powerful apps. The Jamf Teacher app gives teachers the tools to manage their class and keep students focused on their education. With the Jamf School Teacher app, you can instantly restrict websites, apps, the camera, and much more. Or you can even lock all student devices at once with a custom message. Let's see how it works, removing apps that are not required for a specific lesson. Here we see the Teacher app on the right and the student iPad on the left. The teacher opens the Jamf Teacher app and chooses the class. We can see Michelle's iPad connect, and then the teacher selects App Lock. This enables the teacher to only allow the apps that she wants her students to access for the lesson. She selects Google Classroom, Explain Everything, and Manipulative of the Week to ensure that Michelle is focused on the maths tasks that she will be doing. Pay close attention to Michelle's iPad on the left. Watch the apps disappear and leave only the apps Miss Warren has selected for her. Michelle still has the freedom to move between apps that she has access to, so she is not locked into just one app. So that's Jamf Teacher, but what if your iPads are going home with students? How can we help parents and carers become part of your one-to-one learning and drive student success? Well, Jamf Parent is a fantastic app that facilitates that learning at home on a school-issued device. The Jamf Parent app provides simple management controls for parents, giving them the ability to limit apps and device functionality on your child's school-issued device. Let's see how Michelle's parent can help Michelle focus her learning at home on her iPad. On the right, we have Michelle's mum, who has the Jamf Parent app on her phone. Michelle's iPad is already set up on the Jamf Parent app, so she can scroll down from the top and click on Michelle. From here, her mum can turn off any distractions such as social media, games, entertainment, shopping and music on Michelle's iPad. With the app lock feature, Michelle's mum knows that Michelle uses Google Classroom for learning at school. She makes sure that Michelle has only the app she needs to focus while at home. This can be set for a specific period of time to ensure that Michelle gives her learning her full attention. With parents adapting and juggling their own remote working or being at home trying to be a teacher as well as a mum or dad, Jamf Parent also works on Apple Watch. This is a simple, fast and convenient. So that's the Jamf Teacher and Jamf Parent apps. Both enable teachers and parents to select multiple apps to keep the learning focused and reduce distractions when required. The great thing about this is that you can create a ring fence of apps so that the students can still be creative but focused on the learning. So let's recap and go over what we've covered during this session. We've dived into the benefits of Google and iPad, specifically the built-in features of iPadOS. We've dived into the blending of Google and Apple to create a core set of apps, making use of built-in screen recording and Safari Reader for teaching and learning resources. We explored Google Classroom and Apple Classroom together before jumping into identity, web clips deployed via Jamf, and rounded up with the power of the Jamf Teacher and Parent apps. This is just the start of a journey. This webinar is here to spark a thought process, give IT admins, teachers, leaders and parents the insight into the possibilities with iPad. But an ecosystem and the device alone is not the key to success. A key investment in your decision must be the development of your teachers. Invest in your most valuable asset, people. In order to support the use of Jamf Teacher app, we've introduced a free online professional development platform to walk teachers through the use in the classroom. Jamf Educator offers 2 tracks, one for educators, one for education technologists. The Educator track is focused on 4 stops: Education and Jamf, Classroom Management and Jamf, Differentiation and Jamf, and Student Interaction and Jamf. Educators can learn, try and apply in a simulation-based platform and earn a badge at the end of the course. Once complete, they become a Jamf educator and will have the skills and knowledge to apply the use of the Jamf Teacher app into their classroom practice. The EdTech track builds on the same 4 stops, but with ideas and resources to roll out Jamf Teacher across the school to support the wider educator community. Check out Jamf Educator at jamfeducator.com and become part of this fantastic community that we are building, where teachers and IT admins can come together to empower student success. Here's a quick link. Grab your phones, scan this QR code to access Jamf Educator now. It's completely free. You don't even need to be a Jamf customer in order to access and try this out. So check this out now, educator.jamf.com. We also have another fantastic resource. We have a How to Use Google Apps on iPad ebook. This is a great, fantastic resource that's been put together based on previous webinars and some of the content that we've spoken about today. So download the ebook now for free to help empower your students and your teachers to be successful with Apple on your Google ecosystem. Apple has awesome software for education, hardware, deployment systems, and the feather in the cap is the teacher enablement resources. Apple wants teachers and students to succeed with their platform, and providing these resources makes it possible. Check out the Apple Teacher Learning Program for professional learning, along with specific education events and programs to support you with Apple. Also check out the Google Teacher Center, where you can learn new skills and develop your journey with free courses designed for educators of all levels. These skills can be applied to the Google tools used on iPad, so check out both Apple Teacher and the Google Teacher resources for more assistance. Finally, Jamf offers the most comprehensive portfolio of Apple management products in the market. Jamf School helps Schools, IT, and educators spend less time managing technology and more time investing in their classrooms. Thank you for listening, and we'll receive your recording via email when it's ready. If you still have questions once this session is finished, please reach out to us directly at info@jamf.com so we can answer your questions quickly.